If you're a researcher, you know that getting your work published is everything. But let's be honest, the world of academic journals can be a total minefield. You've got metrics, rankings, and all these potential traps. So today, we are going to break it all down and give you a clear roadmap to get your amazing research published in exactly the right place.
So you did it. You poured months, maybe even years of your life into your research. It's groundbreaking, it's done, and it is ready for the world. But now you're facing a question that can feel just as tough as the research itself. Where on earth do you send it? Picking the right journal is a huge deal. It can literally define the impact of your work.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics of scholarly journals. Then, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of quality metrics and that all-important quartile system. After that, we'll cover the major databases you need to know, how to spot, and more importantly, avoid those sneaky predatory journals. And finally, we'll tie it all together with a super practical guide for choosing the perfect journal for your paper.
Right, first things first. Before we can even talk about rankings and all those numbers, we need to make sure we're on the same page about what a scholarly journal actually is and the world you're about to step into.
So at its heart, a research journal is simply where new scholarship gets shared. But what's the secret sauce that makes it legit? It's all about the peer review process. This is where other experts in your field, anonymously, pick apart your work, checking it for quality and validity. It is the absolute bedrock of academic credibility.
Now, when you start looking around, you'll see two main models. You've got open access journals, which make articles free for everyone to read, usually paid for by author fees. And then you have subscription journals, which keep their work behind a paywall. You also have another key difference: indexed versus non-indexed. An indexed journal is one that's been vetted and included in a major database. Think of it as a stamp of approval. A non-indexed one, well, it hasn't made that cut.
Okay, so with thousands of journals out there, how do we tell them apart? How do we measure their quality and impact? That, my friends, is where metrics come in. Think of these as your toolkit for evaluating and comparing all the different options.
This table lays out the two heavyweights, Clarivate's impact factor and Elsevier's site score. The easiest way to think about them is that impact factor, with its 2-year window, is kind of like a snapshot of a journal's recent buzz. Site score, with its 4-year window, gives you a better sense of its longer-term influence. One isn't necessarily better, they just give you different lenses to see a journal's impact.
Beyond those two big ones, there are a couple of others you should know. The H-index measures both how much a journal publishes and how often that work gets cited. Then you've got the CIMAGO Journal Rank, or SJR, which is really clever. It works on the idea that not all citations are created equal. So, a citation from a super prestigious journal gives a bigger boost to the SJR than one from a lesser-known journal.
I know, all these different numbers and acronyms can feel like a lot, right? Well, that's where quartiles come in to save the day. It's a super simple but powerful way to understand where a journal stands compared to others in its specific field.
And this table shows you exactly how it works. You take all the journals in a field, say astrophysics, rank them by their impact score, and then just slice them into 4 equal groups. Q1 is the top 25%, the cream of the crop. Q2 is the next chunk, still really solid, and Q3 and Q4 make up the bottom half. It's a really straightforward way to see where a journal fits in the pecking order. So why is everyone so obsessed with Q1 and Q2? Well, because it has real-world consequences for you. Publishing in these top-tier journals is often a huge factor in getting promoted. It can make or break a grant application, and universities love to brag about their Q1 and Q2 publications. So yeah, the stakes are pretty high. This brings us to a really important question. How do you even know if a journal's numbers are legit? Where do you find these rankings? The answer is in the major indexing databases. You can think of them as the official gatekeepers of the academic world. Let's meet the gatekeepers. The two biggest are SCOTUS and Web of Science. These are massive databases where you'll find metrics like site score and impact factor. If you're in the health sciences, PubMed and Medline are your universe. And for open access journals, the Directory of Open Access Journals, or DOAJ, is the gold standard. Here's a simple rule. If a journal isn't indexed in one of these, you should be very, very careful. And that word, careful, leads us straight into the dark side of academic publishing, predatory journals. These are places that are designed to exploit researchers, and publishing with them can seriously damage your career and reputation.
Here's the most important thing to understand. A predatory journal will happily take your money, that publication fee, but give you basically nothing of value in return. They skip the tough peer review, they have sloppy standards, and they offer zero prestige. They exist for one reason: to make money off the pressure we all feel to publish or perish.
So how do you protect yourself? Let's start with the good signs. The number one, absolute best sign of a legitimate journal is that it's indexed in those databases we just talked about: Scopus, Web of Science, or DOAJ. That's the first check you should always make.
Now, on the flip side, here's a massive flashing red flag. Predatory journals love to make up their own bogus metrics. If you ever see something called a universal impact factor or a global impact factor, just be extremely suspicious. These are fake, designed to sound official and tricky.
Another really good sign is just basic professionalism. Does the journal have a clean, working website? Can you find the editorial board, and are they real people at real universities that you can look up? Also, look for memberships in organizations like COPE, the Committee on Publication Ethics. It shows they're committed to doing things right.
And here's a classic you've probably seen. That spam email that lands in your inbox full of over-the-top praise for your esteemed work, inviting you to submit. They almost always promise a super fast review process. Remember, real peer review takes time. A promise to publish your paper in a week is a huge warning sign. So to put it all together, here is your simple 4-step checklist. Number 1, check those major indexing databases. Number 2, verify its official registration number, the ISSN. 3, take a close look at the editorial board. And 4, see if they're a member of a respected group like COPE or OASPA.
Okay, you know the landscape, you can read the metrics, and you know how to spot a fake. So now, let's bring it all home with a practical framework for making that final critical choice.
Here's how you can walk through the decision. First, and this is the most important, does your paper actually fit the journal's scope? A bad fit is just a waste of time. Next, set a realistic quartile goal for yourself. Are you really aiming for a top Q1 journal, or is a solid Q2 a smarter move for this particular paper? Then, get practical. What's their typical review time? And don't forget the money. What are the article processing charges, or APCs? Finally, always double check if your university has any specific rules you need to follow.
You know, in the end, it all comes down to this simple but really powerful idea. Think, check, submit. Be thoughtful about where you're sending your work. Do your homework to check that it's legitimate, and only then submit. Your research, all that hard work, it deserves a reputable home.
And that leaves us with one final big picture thought. With all the intense pressure on academics to constantly publish, is this publish or perish culture actually making us more vulnerable to these traps? Is it pushing good researchers, especially early career ones, right into the arms of these predatory publishers? It's something for all of us in the academic community to think about. Thanks for watching.